Okay, where were you born and in what year?
I was born actually in St Patrick's Hospital in Cashel, County Tipperary, and the year was the 1st of December 1942.
Okay, do you know where Dominic Street got its name from?
Well, it's named after St Dominic. Originally, after St Patrick, when Patrick came to Cashel in 432 AD, after Patrick left Cashel, the greatest denomination of religious orders came to Cashel, and that's why it's called the City of the Kings, the Holy City, after Patrick, because Patrick came to Cashel and started, if you like, Christianity. And after Patrick left, the greatest orders of religious orders came to Cashel, and the Dominicans were second to come to Cashel after Patrick. So therefore, Dominic Street would be named after St Dominic,
okay,
and to do with Dominic's Abbey, right beside us, if you like.
Okay, can you tell me about your family? How many brothers and sisters you have? What are your parents' names?
Well, my father's name was Miles Heffernan, and my mother's name was Josephine Hoare, before she married my father. My father was born on the Green in Cashel, and we are related to my Malika O'Dwyer's in the Green in Cashel, my father's first cousins. My mother's father was Michael Hoare, who was a shoemaker and a bootmaker, and lived to be a very good age, lived to be 92 years of age. Fought in the First World War and survived a year and a half in the front. His division was the Irish Guards, and fought at a place called Ypres, Y-P-R-E-S, in France, and survived a year and a half, and came back and set up his own business as a shoemaker and a bootmaker in Cashel, and became one of the best shoemakers in the whole of Munster. So my father then was a labourer, and my father passed away on the 18th of January 1960, and there was 5 of us or 6 of us in the family. I've got 5 sisters, and I'm an only brother.
Did you ever play with them when you were young?
I did. We played games like for instance, rounders, which would be a form of cricket today. You get a part of a galvanized tin and put it down on the roadway, and you play the game with a hurley stick, but you'll be bowled. A fella will bowl the ball to you, and then you hit the ball. But if the ball hit the tin, you had to drop the hurley stick and you were out. So it was a great game, one of the old traditional games, rounders we call it. And after, I presume, well, I think it was part of cricket. And then, of course, we played marbles and conkers, and all the other games. We've done a lot of running, and we used to at various parts of the year. Then we go and collect Easter time Easter eggs. The farmers will give you Easter eggs, and you'll bring them home, and it was great fun. You know, we paint the eggs with faces and that. That was great fun.
Okay, in school, did you ever go to primary school?
I did, yes. We started off in a national school in the Green.
Remember roughly how many children were in the school?
Rough estimation, probably in or around, starting off, there'd be about I suppose about 60, maybe 60 students. That's at the start of the national school, and then when the Christian Brothers went to the Christian Brothers, you'd be talking about, I suppose, roughly about 150, 200, generally speaking, students at that time.
What's Christian Brothers like? What's the school like?
Famous school named after Brother Rice, who founded the Christian Brothers, and became very, very successful. Very, very good teachers. The brothers were, and superiors were were very good. Very regimental. Very, very. That was the time of corporal punishment, because if you didn't do your sums, if you like, if you didn't do, you were kind of lazy, if you like, the strap was there and the cane was there, and you had to be punished if you didn't obey the rules, shall we say, you know. But generally speaking, they were all good students, really. You know.
Okay. Do you remember any of your teachers' names?
I do. We had a superior was Brother Kine, was his name, and then we had a Brother Ryan, who was the drama teacher and music teacher. And then we had Brother King, and there was a couple of lay teachers then who came in later on, just around the sort of 50s, and 52, 53. We had the late Joe Erwin, who taught us, and there was two more lay teachers, and it was, generally speaking, very good, very, very good. We were well-behaved students, if you like, from that point of view. And of course, we remember then it being 99% Roman Catholic. On Fridays, every one of us would have to march up from the school, march up the street, and up the main street, and up John Street, across Eagles Lane to St. John the Baptist's Roman Catholic Church for confession. It was like an army. Every Friday, throughout our education in school, we'd have to do that. We'd done that. This was the done thing. And of course, you'd have to behave as you were marching up the street as well, because if you didn't, you got a clip at the back of the ear. You know, if you weren't like in the army, you would have to be well behaved.
What are your favourite subjects?
Well, we had maths, of course, geography, which was what I was reasonably good at, and of course in singing, I used to sing as well, so I was quite interested in singing, but maths and geography and algebra were mainly Latin to a certain extent, and of course our own native tongue, Irish, Gaelic, Irish and English, those were the subjects.
Okay, did you ever do sing later on in your life?
I did. We done a few. We done quite a lot of concerts in the school, singing as in a choir, that is, and in school, and then eventually we done a few concerts in the old town hall, singing in the old town hall, which is the down on the main street, was called, it was the Cashel Open District Council Town Hall, and there was a stage there, and we done the entertainment there, and of course there was also, at that time, you had what was called travelling road shows too. People coming from Dublin in the entertainment business looking for talent for All Ireland shows, and I remember we were the old cinema, which was a great part of entertainment at that time, which is in Ladies Well Street now. It's now a restaurant, and some man there selling fishing tackle and all that. But anyhow, it was a great cinema, and I remember a fella called Harry Rycroft who came for a week to Cashel, and he had a show on Radio Weirden called Beginners Please, and this show was looking for talent, but you had to go to the show, and he'd say from the audience, is there anyone who wants to come up and sing a song? And in 1958 we went to the show, and most of our people's parents went to the show. This was the first night, and a girl called Mary Phelan there, and Mary Phelan and myself and Packy Keating of the Keating family in Cashel Street. They asked us to know, they asked one another, is there anybody here that will sing a song? And 3 of us went up to sing. And the competition was that if you won it, you'd get into the All-Ireland final to be held in Thurles a month after the show. So Mary Phelan won, and myself, he couldn't separate us, the 2 of us, and Packy Keating. So he gave us, we were giant winners, giving us £5 each as a prize at that time, and 3 watches. So then we went to competition for the All-Ireland competition in Thurles a month afterwards, and out of 500 competitors, Mary Phelan, who later went on to become top female vocalist in New Zealand, and her grandmother was from Cashel here, and she passed away a few years ago. Her brothers passed away recently too, a couple of years ago, but she became top female vocalist in New Zealand because it all happened here in Cashel on that night, that day.
Okay, and would you sing us a song?
I will, of course, yes. I'll say this is a song that was written by Packy Keating and the late Dennis Fogarty and myself, and I done this song. Part of it was for the Irish Heart Foundation, because my grandnephew Alan Vahy passed away 7 years ago with the sudden death syndrome thing. So we done this for the Irish Heart Foundation. It's called Cashel, My Hometown, and it goes something like this. If you were born in Cashel, oh, picture how you'd feel. The famous rock, the King Cormac's York, and the skittles on the green. The dear kind friends I've grown to love, that would never let you down. I was always keen on the red and green in Cashel, my hometown. Oh, sweet Cahal Brew, my love for you, McCann Street and Borklock, the Gouts, the Kill, Gallows Hill, and my walks around the rock, Owlbourne Moor and Blind Street, and John Street we would stroll down. We felt content in what God sent in Cashel, our hometown. It's many the time I've left you on foreign lands to stray, from Shepherd's Bush to Camden Town, Sydney and LA. It's many the night we lay in bed, and those tears came rolling down, as we left behind the friends we love in Cashel, our hometown. So come back home to Cashel, the town we love so well, the golden road where we went to school, and the tall tales we could tell. Brother Nolan's band, it sounded so grand as we marched on up and down. We're proud today, we're home today in Cashel, our hometown.
Brilliant, that was really good now. Quite amazing. Okay, back in your teenage years, how did you amuse yourself?
Well, what we done was we used to play when we went to the cinema, the old cinema, which was a great part of entertainment. Well, of course, there was no television, of course, in those days. We had radio, and we used to listen to the matches, the hurling matches on the radio with Michael O'Hare. But we used to go to the cinema, and we loved, I think everybody loves cowboy and Indian films, you know. And on a Monday night in the old cinema, maybe the major film was not a good film, but people went for the simple reason that after the major film was shown, they would show a serial. Now the serial could be Flash Gordon or Superman or something like that, but it would cut off halfway through the episode of it, and they'd tell you come back on the following Monday to see the second episode. And that was the reason why the cinemas always packed on a Monday night, because you had to go back and see the remainder of the episodes of Superman or Batman or Flash Gordon or some of those series, you know.
Did you ever go to secondary school?
Yes, we did. And the secondary school was, I went as far as 6th year in secondary school, and I was just a year off my leaving certificate, but I didn't do my leaving certificate because my father got ill, and I had to look after my mother then and my 5 sisters. I being the eldest. So I left school, and then I went to London, because at that time in the 50s our grandparents had emigrated already and come back, and now their own children had to emigrate, which was a tough time, which really, you know. But I left then and went to England and went to London, and I was there for 3 years, and then I came back after 3 years and went to Wales, North Wales, and then I worked there for another 3 years, and I came back then, and I got a job then after 5 years after the Cashel Palace Hotel opened up. I got a job in the Cashel Palace Hotel, and I have remained in the Cashel Palace ever since. So I'm 40 years now in the Cashel Palace.
That's a long time.
It's a long time.
How many meals a day did you have back then?
Well, back then we had, you know, small breakfasts, you know, just a cup of tea and maybe some toast, maybe. And lunch then was, but our mothers used to rely on the potato, you know, potato, and we were reared on what's known as goody, which milk and bread, hot milk and bread, and sugar, and that was very substantial. So we were reared up on wholesome food, if you like, but plain food, you know. But we didn't have, shall we say, you know, it was plain food, and that was it, you know. We survived on it, yeah.
Okay, did you ever eat different foods on special occasions? Like, did you ever eat something special on Friday, or on a birthday, or Christmas, or Easter?
Yes, well Easter would be, had just the Easter water. You would drink some Easter water. You'd had the Easter eggs, of course, and you had, it was actually a kind of a fasting time, if you like, because you didn't eat meat on a Friday. You only had some cheese, maybe, if you had cheese, and just a piece of bread and some cheese. That was the Lent. During Lent you had fast and abstinence, and very limited for what you eat. Uh, Easter, yes, you had an egg, if you like, an Easter morning egg with the blessing of Easter water. Good Friday, then, or before on Good Friday you went to the ceremonies of Good Friday, and it was a great time. You look forward to Easter actually. Summertime then, we used to go on outings. The school would bring you to Clonea, for instance, on a trip. Seaside in Clonea, and we look forward to that because we were all driven in a bus, and you had sandwiches and lemonade then, which was a great time. To go to Clonea, we would always look forward to that, you know. And then coming up then to the fall of the year, and then Christmas time, our mums and dads would hang up the stocking on beside the fire, and we realised that the magic of it, you know. We realised the magic of Christmas.
Where in Cashel was your favourite place to go?
Well, we used to go to. We used to love going to the cinema, as we said. But in the cinema there was a shop, and of course the shop was operated by the Maher sisters. Tom Maher being a publican in Ladies Well Street, but his two sisters ran the shop. And it was fascinating. You come out at half time and look for a bar of chocolate or an orange or an apple, and maybe it was. I remember Roundtree's fruit gums at that time, a packet of those, and you were given 20 minutes of a break to either eat what you bought, which was good because you really, and then you go back in for the second half of the entertainment in the cinema. Also, we used to go to visit Ryan's. It was Alice Ryan was her name. It was in the main street beside Buckley's shop. But she was the very first lady to get a jukebox there. A jukebox playing records. And you would see, when you put in the 10 pence coin into the machine, there was a little video, and well, not quite a video because it wasn't as advanced then, but the picture would come up on top of the screen of the artist who was actually playing the music or singing the song, and that was fascinating. And she was the very first, Alice Ryan was the very first woman, businesswoman in Cashel to have a jukebox. So we used to love listening to the 50s music and then the 60s music. And she said ice cream, you used to get the cones and that, and she said all kinds of everything there, if you like, from that point of view. Yeah. Okay,
transport wise, how did you get around the country? Bus, by walking?
Well, by bus, yes. Not much. We used to call, there wasn't what you might call proper transport in Cashel from that point of view, but there was, in the sense that the railway was still going, where John Brown now has his business Barware, down on the what's known as the Bowling Butt Road. There is where the railway station was, and it was from Cashel to Gould's Cross, from Gould's Cross then to Tullis, and then you got on the main train to Tullis. But it was called the Blackberry Express, the Cashel train, because it was like the colour of blackberries, if you like, and it was quite famous, very famous branch line from Gould's Cross to Cashel, and at that time the tourist industry was only in its infancy stages. There was no tourists hardly coming to Cashel at that time. Now there was a CIE bus, an old bus, Chorus Umper Airn bus, and that only came into Cashel, I think, twice a week to bring people to Dublin, and I don't know how many hours it took to get to Dublin. But there was a local Princess, what they call the Princess bus service too, from Cashel to Thurles, and from Cashel to Clonmel, and from Cashel to Tipperary town. And that's how we kind of got around. But most people were walking, and they never actually left the town in one sense. They stayed put, because, and then there was bicycles, of course, so you had to, gents or ladies' bicycles, and then you had to, that's the way you got around, you know.
Okay, national and world news. So how did you know what's happening in the wider world?
Very interesting. Well, actually, we didn't really, because lots of people didn't have radios either. But for those who had the radio, it was Radio Éireann, which was the main station to listen to. But there was a line on the radios, inside the radios at the time, on the frequencies. There was a frequency called AFN, which was American Forces Network, on the radio. And when you tuned into that, you'd hear the worldwide news. And of course the BBC had a worldwide service as well. But you couldn't get the BBC, barely got it. But AFN you were able to get clear. And that gave you the world news, if you like, from around the world, if you like, you know.
Okay, and did any historical events happen in your lifetime?
Yes. We had what's known as on Toastal, which was in 1956 or 53. It was 53. On Toastal was a commemoration of the events that happened around St. Patrick when he came to Cashel in 432 AD. And it was a wonderful occasion, because you had, the theme was about St. Patrick, but you had a lot of organisations who organised different, a bit like St. Patrick's Day, but you had horses and you had soldiers, you had the depiction of, at that time, chariots and so forth and so on, at that time when Patrick came to Cashel to bring Christianity to Ireland. And it was all about that, and that was very interesting. And then I remember there was you had the lighting on the rock, for the very first time, the lighting on the rock, which was brought about by the Guinness company, and then the publicans in Cashel put up some money to get the lighting on the rock going, you know, and so they did. And that was another occasion. And then we had, of course, the Red Bull races here, which was a great occasion as well. And of course, the other one then was recently was the you had a couple of years ago, the lotto was done from cash from the rock here, but the rock was all lit up as well, and that was a great occasion as well.
Okay, well, did you know any stories from when you were young? Any stories that are popular back then but not popular now?
Lots of places were supposed to be haunted, you know, and that. And there was a house, for instance, the Cashel Palace is haunted. But what the story that sticks in our mind is about the Black Dog. The Black Dog was Lord Inchiquin. And Lord Inchiquin was made Lord High Sheriff of Ireland by Henry VIII. When Cromwell came to Cashel after Drogheda and after Wexford, he had assembled his troops on the hill, on Gallows Hill, 10,000 troops. And this black, I'm relating to the stories of the Black Dog now, because our grandfathers often told this story about the Black Dog. And it happened before the Cashel Palace was built. It was a smaller house on that site. And the this Lord Inchiquin fellow, whereas Ramon in Cashel now is, there was a smaller house on that side as well. But he lived there, and he came to visit his father's friend was he was an infamous bishop that lived in Cashel. And he lived on that site before the Cashel Palace was built. Milo McGrath, he was the scoundrel of Cashel. But Inchiquin, this fellow now I'm talking about, came to visit him a couple of times in the year. But little did he know what was going to happen to him when he was 25 years of age. He used to come to visit as a baby and as an infant to this bishop, infamous bishop fellow. But anyhow, when he became one of Cromwell's commanding officers, and when they came to Cashel, Cromwell looked at the great rock of Cashel and he said, "I am not going into that town." And Lord Inchiquin said, "Why not, sir?" He said, "I had a premonition, and I fear the ecclesiastics. I fear the holy men." "Do not fear," he said. "I'll bring the troops in and we'll slaughter the whole population of Cashel, what we done in Wexford yesterday and done up Drogheda." So half the population hid in the great hallowed walls, and half were executed by Inchiquin. And in Dominic's Abbey, as the chief abbot was dying, after he put him to the sword, the chief abbot said to Inchiquin, "Young man," he said, "I'm putting a curse on you, that you," he says, "will come back as a hound out of hell. For the foul deeds that you committed this day in the holy city, the royal city, the city of the kings." He says, "You will roam the great streets of Cashel until you repent for what you've done this day." And he died. "And you will be in the shape of a dog the size of a calf." And that is the story of the black dog. The black dog story is true. The curse was put on him. He was Inchiquin, the scoundrel. He massacred half the population of our town at that time. And that's the story of which is outstanding in all our people's minds, if you like, from that point of view.
Okay, is there any traditions about back when you were young that you did that you don't see people doing anymore?
True. Well, you don't see, for instance, like when we used to come from school and fathers and mothers would say, "Now you've got to go to the shop with a message bag and get some messages," right? And that was a time when there was no El Nino then. You had the 4 seasons, proper seasons. But in the summertime, the neighbours would be at the wall and you would come out and they'd say to you, well, old hand, old stock. Now, that meant old stock. We didn't remember at the time, we couldn't register. But what that meant was respect for the families all along the line, go back generations. Old stock and old hand, which are Cashel words. Those are Cashel words, old stock and old hand. And those traditions are kind of nearly, not quite gone, but they're still there. But it would be interesting, like, when people keep saying it to you, because it's all about respect for the families. That's what that meant, So that's quite interesting.
Yeah, it is. Okay, now this is going to be just a big question. How do you think Cashel has changed over your lifetime?
Well, it has changed because, in the sense, we hope it has changed for the better. And a lot of the thinking at that time before we were born was, now, to do the right thing, to get a proper balance between agriculture horse racing, bloodstock, and industry. And to get the proper balance was always what our peoples always thought. And then also, of course, tourism-wise, because in 1957, the great film The Quiet Man was released in America, and people said, "Where is this land?" And it was the first film shot in Technicolor. And when people saw it, they said, "Where is this land?" So they started coming in 1957. And that's when a few hotels sprung up, if you like, and made themselves better. You had Ryan's Hotel in Friar Street. You had another the White Horse Inn in Canopy Street. You had the Rock Arms in Main Street. Before Grant's Castle was invented, but you had the Rock Arms. Then you had the Cashel Palace. Well, the Cashel Palace opened up in 1960. And then it became, generally speaking, an agricultural town plus a tourist town. Now, industry-wise, was slow, but you eventually got the correct balance. Now, it has changed a little bit since, and I hope we do hope that, shall we say, that it'll keep the correct balance always. So that's what it's about. It's about welcoming the tourists, which we need badly, and we need the industry badly, and keeping the people not just to stay one night, but to stay maybe 2 or 3 nights. So tourism is very important, and we hope that that the thinking will be that keep the people here, do the best you can for the people, welcome the people, and give them a good time, and they'll go back and tell their people that they had a good time in Cashel, and they'll come back again, and that's what it's all about.
So another question: did you meet anybody famous when you were working anywhere?
I did indeed, yes. Quite a few people. I met the late Larry Hagman, Jr., who actually told us who shot him, because the series was over. The series was over, and I met, just to name a few people, Martin Sheen. Martin is a very popular figure coming to Tipperary, because his mother was born in Borrisokane, so he stayed a few times in the Cashel Palace. Ronald Reagan, I met the late Ronald Reagan, who was Governor of California then at that time. And I met quite a few, Andrew Lloyd Webber, lady called Stephanie Beecham, Richard Harris, the actor Richard Harris, and Jimmy Cox Brady, whose son became Secretary of the Treasury of the United States of America, and that was very interesting, because all those people came, and a lot of them came back to revisit again, you know. Yes.
So, are you still working in the Palace Hotel?
I do. I just work now 2 nights a week, because I'm kind of semi-retired now, but I just work 2 nights a week. But it's wonderful to deal with our visitors, to look after our visitors, and to give them that special welcome, that special casual welcome. And it's all about that special welcome.
Okay, thanks for answering these questions, but I think that's more. And this video we made available for future generations to see what Cashel's like for a child and young adult during the 1940s, 50s and beyond. Do you have any final words for the people who will be watching this recording?
Well, what I'd say is keep the faith. Be what religion it is, but do keep the faith, and have that bit of faith, because our mothers used to say, and our grandparents used to say, our great grandparents used to say, live while you can and die when you can't help it. And but come to Cashel, because here is where Christianity began. Here is where the Guinness Empire was discovered, in the great Cashel Palace Hotel. And here it's like you've got to come to the source. You've got to come to the original. Here is where it became the most important ecclesiastical town in the whole of Ireland between the 9th and the 12th centuries. And it is full of history. You will be fascinated with it. Give yourself time to come to Cashel, the great city of the kings, the holy city, the royal city. So do come, and we will certainly look after you.
Okay, thank you for answering the questions in this interview.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. And thank you very much to the crew and who have made this video, and to the school who done it, the famous school, the School of the Great Scholars.
Thank you.
Pleasure.